Hi there, I'm John Fairhurst, and this is my review of David Brin's The Uplift War, which is his third entry in his Uplift Universe series. For my review of other entries in this series, please use the card at the end of this review. The cover image used at the start of this review is from my copy of the 1987 Bantam Books edition. The story itself is also copyrighted 1987. Although it doesn't quite manage the Triple Crown winning streak of its predecessor, Startide Rising, being nominated for, but not winning, the 1987 Nebula Awards, it did win the 1988 Hugo and Lincoln and Locus Awards. And slightly less importantly, it is my favourite book in the series. In terms of genre, like its immediate predecessor, this is military science fiction, and unlike the earlier book, it doesn't have as much of the philosophical musings, and there is more active combat, though still quite a lot of the combat itself actually takes place off screen, so to speak, particularly the bloodiest bits of it. Like Startide Rising, this book is broken down into various sections and told from multiple points of view. Unlike the earlier book, though, this book actually has chapters from the Gubru and other alien points of view, including our first Tim Brimley, the father-daughter combination of Uther Calthing and Arthur Clenna. Excuse me. The various sections are broken down into start with the prelude, which is entirely told from the Gubru point of view and gives us a brief introduction to both the reasons behind the invasion and the Gubru themselves. The official part 1 is subtitled Invasion and introduces us to some of the leading characters on the Earthclan side of the invasion, including one of the leading Chims, Thiban Bolger, who is a member of the Planetary Defence Forces, and Ambassador Uther Calthing, who is considered rather a joker by the more sober members of the diplomatic representatives on Garth, most of whom are bitterly running away from the soon-to-be invested planet. As the title of the section suggests, it deals mainly with the initial arrival of the Gubru and their landing on the planet, plus a bit of exploration of the interactions between Arthur Clenna and Robert One Eagle, who's the son of the planetary administrator. At this stage, it's a rather tentative, getting to know you, oh my, how strange they are, kind of interaction. And this has the potential for all sorts of misunderstandings, which liven things up. We also learn that the rather abortive attempts of Earthclan to defend their colony forces the head of the priestly faction of the Gubru occupation forces to maintain a nominal separation from the planetary surface. It had vowed not to touch Garth's surface until all opposition had come to an end. As Part 2 Patriots opens, the Gubru feel that they are more or less in charge of the planet, and they reckon that, but they are not well versed in wolfling psychology, being more used to dealing with the highly stylized undertaking of the galactic great clans, so fail to take into account the growing guerrilla operations in the countryside. Though it's quite amusing to read the passages where the guerrillas work out why the Gubru military forces are able to track the guerrillas when they make their strikes, and the understanding of the timescales on which their opponents have been operating. Although it's clear that Garth has been designated a target in the prelude, we don't have any real sense of how long before the actual invasion this took place. Part 3, Garthlings, focuses quite often on both Uther Calthing and his companion in exile, Kraut, who is Thenanin, supposedly one of Earthclan's enemies as they track through these swampy wastes. Thanks to a botched colonisation attempt many eons previously by a supposedly properly uplifted species, Garth has no indigenous life forms bigger than a domestic cat, and Uther Calthing has planned a jest on Kraut to pretend that a larger, more near sapient species has survived the winnowing. Thenanin aren't known for their ability to sense humour, being seen as rather straight-laced. And Celt is in particular, is proving resistant to these carefully planted clues. The Gubru, however, proved more credulous and launch mission after mission to hunt down this mythical species. After all patron races are driven by the need to find more clans, except Earthclan, who are barred from uplifting more proto-sentients from Earth. However, and both Clenna and Robert also begin growing up and find that a form of love can cross species boundaries. Throughout the book, much gets made of the problems raised by the process of uplift that leave a lot of chimps that miss out on the benefits of uplift by what they see as marginal points in a position to be exploited by the occupation forces. Fiben and the head of the urban guerrillas find this out firsthand as they are treated to the probies' ideas of hospitality after the urban operations were completely routed. Poor old Fiben is treated as the character who gets most of the bad stuff dumped on him, and as a rather comedic character. But he does get to come to a good end at the end of the story. Part 4, Traitors, covers much of Fiben and Galliet's imprisonment, but Robert and Clenna also find that they have some decisions to make that wouldn't necessarily find favour with their supposed superiors. Throughout the various sections of the story, there is always trouble in the Gubru High Command. Command among the Gubru is always a balancing of power and policies between the three leaders, and an emerging consensus was broken when the original suzerain of cost and caution, effectively the accountants and bureaucrats' boss, was killed in a terrorist attack. For a while, Beam and Talon gained the ascendancy, but the balance gradually tipped towards proprietary, though this ascendancy may not give answers to the questions that the Gubru want answering. It's also this section that we get to see the power of the Institute of Uplift as they enforce the ceasefire on the warring group factions. Parts 5 and 6 see things coming to a head in both the Gubru and the guerrilla camps, and is often the case when a society is willing to pay the cost, or doesn't care about the cost. The high-tech Gubru roll up the guerrilla forces until Clenna, who's now in firm command of the guerrillas, decides that the principled last stand is their best option, and it looks bleak for Earthclan until the madness of the suzerain of Beam and Talon led to his execution by his second-in-command, thereby saving the insurgents. Back in the capital, the Gubru uplift ceremony for the chimps led to an explosive climax as the Gubru-backed Angrip fights for his position against our hero Fiben. However, in probably what's the most mystical part of the book, the partially uplifted guerrillas sense something going on and make their own march on Port St. Helena and the Uplift Mound to bring an unexpected ally to Earthclan and their Timbrimri allies. These final parts of the book do get a bit airy-fairy, but it's basically well grounded in the physical realities of the universe. And this is probably the place to wonder as well whether the desire to fiddle with the genetics of a species is something that will ever come to pass, or is just something that was part of Brin's hope for the future. Certainly, even basic genetic modification of food crops is not something that's not thought of as a good thing currently. So I can't really see that messing about with the genetics of the species considerably cuddlier than wheat or maize ever being acceptable. Anyway, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this review. Let me know in the comments, and like and subscribe if you haven't already done so. There are links to Amazon and Amazon.co.uk where you can buy this book. I do final parts of this book do get a bit airy-fairy, but it's basically well grounded in the physical realities of its universe. This is probably the place to wonder as well whether this desire to fiddle with the genetics of a species is something that will ever come to pass, or is just something that was part of Brin's hope for the future. Certainly even basic genetic modification of food crops is something that's not really thought of as a good thing currently. So I can't see messing about with the genetics of other species considerably cuddlier than wheat or maize ever being acceptable. I hope you've enjoyed this review, and let me know in the comments, and like and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Amazon.com and Amazon.co.uk links to the book are available in the description below. I do get a small cut of the sale, but there's no cost to you in this. And thank you for listening. Goodbye.